Remember when Anthony Fauci basically ruined our lives for 2 years? He destroyed our economy, canceled graduations, forced business owners to close over a virus? Well, now that Mr. Fauci's personal diaries have become public, turns out he lied about everything while obsessing over the attention he was getting like a 6-year-old girl at her birthday party. To start off, he lied about the fertility rate, which he told the public was 2 to 3%, but his diary said 0.2%. This is unsurprising to anyone who actually had COVID and figured out it was literally just the common cold. Oh, and then he lied about where the virus came from, which per his diary was definitely that biosafety lab in Wuhan, China he was offshoring research to. You might think that Fauci's primary concern would be providing fact-based medical guidance that would positively affect the health of millions. And you would be wrong. This narcissist was obsessed with the celebrity status his position brought, and the fact that Democrats swooned over him. Bono called me a global hero. Julia Roberts got so nervous she had to get water when she saw my face. Sure glad he was taking his role seriously. Now in 2026, the Senate is finally holding a hearing to question Fauci's leadership during COVID-19 in view of all the diary revelations. Want to see Fauci's final middle finger to the American people? He pleaded the fifth 111 times in the Senate hearings about all of his lies, refusing to even identify what day of the week it was.
Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Today we are talking about CON-vid, okay? Because that's exactly what it was. So it turns out that they are all full of, you know what I'm. There really comes a point where people who are labeled as conspiracy theorists or people who are always against the program because they see through the BS, there comes a point where, like, for people who resonate with that, you have to be so confident in validating yourself when people are rejecting you, when people are not understanding where you're coming from, when people are just following the crowd.
You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem, period, end of story.
The only people that you can blame, this isn't shaming, this is the truth. Maybe they should be shamed, are the unvaccinated.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
Anyone you came into contact with will blame you, as will the rest of us who have done the right thing by getting vaccinated.
Because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
I think it's time to get our moral house in order, Anderson. It's the unvaccinated who are the threat.
All of us vaccinated folks are going to start wearing masks to protect the unvaccinated folks. It's called a Christian value.
You're basically punishing the vaccinated for the sins of the unvaccinated.
People are not behaving honorably. The unvaccinated are basically saying, well, it's open season for me. I can do whatever I want as well.
The unvaccinated are basically beating their breasts and running around the country saying, we don't care, we're living free, and so forth.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
The unvaccinated, a group that includes children and people acting like children. And the rest of us are starting to get pissed off.
The vaccinated feel the unvaccinated are making me upset or angry.
This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No. Screw your freedom.
The other day, Howard Stern weighed in with a much different approach. Take a look.
When are we going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country and just say, it's mandatory to get vaccinated? Their freedom.
You're treading on our freedom and you're making other people sick, and really you're killing other people.
The anti-vaxxers, they seem to have a thing for death and home remedies.
The anti-maskers turned anti-vaxxers are not just putting their own lives at risk. If that was the issue, we could just say that we can watch them compete to win place or show in the Darwin Awards.
We have to start doing things for the greater good of society and not for idiots who think that they can do their own research.
And don't get me started on the lunatics who won't take any of the COVID vaccines.
Life is too short to be an ass. Life is way too short to be ignorant of the promise of something that is helping people worldwide.
Maybe you're doing it because you're disconnected or disorganized. Maybe you have some sympathetic psychological reasons. But maybe you're just being antisocial.
Oh, you can't shame them. You can't call them stupid. You can't call them silly. Yes, they are.
Those who are not vaccinated will end up paying the price.
The unvaccinated should be taxed
they should pay more for health care.
We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same as we look at driving while intoxicated.
We're going to see, and I've said, almost two types of America.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack, yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy.
Pointing back to the unvaccinated who are really creating a problem in this country, every death that we are seeing from COVID could have been prevented.
Literally, the only people dying are the unvaccinated. And for those of you spreading misinformation, shame on you.
And don't get me wrong, I get it, right? Because it's like you want to trust that the people who are governing you, the people who are of authority, you want to trust that they are operating from integrity and that they actually have your best interests at heart. But there really has to come to a point where y'all have to open your eyes and see, like, you can't trust them.
Analysis studies show that, contrary to what we thought, masks really do work in preventing infection.
No doubt.
So no doubt.
So when you find out you were wrong, you don't double down.
People should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. Right now, the message is the vaccines are very effective in preventing serious disease. So the data are very, very clear that A, you need a booster. The nature of those viruses that were studied were evolutionarily so far distant from what turned out to be SARS-CoV-2 that no matter what you did with those viruses, you would not be able to do that. Obviously, there are two possibilities that are being entertained, and I think we need to keep a completely open mind until we have definitive proof.
Dr. Fauci, did you delete any emails or records related to the Wuhan lab or the origins of the virus?
No, I did not. I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I have nothing to hide. On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I have not been misleading the American public under any circumstances.
First of all, I didn't recommend locking anything down, and the record will show, Neil, that we didn't recommend shutting everything down. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And that was a very difficult decision because I knew it would have serious economic consequences, which it did.
Well, it seems like somebody was lying.
Imagine putting your life in the hands of people who cannot be honest with you for nothing, and understanding that their whole entire agenda is literally based on money, greed, and power. And the sooner that you understand this, the sooner you will understand you cannot trust everything that comes out of their mouth because of their position. People in position don't always have integrity, and there comes a point where you realize that these people lack integrity in like the craziest way possible.
Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
1 million people dead, you're getting rich. 1 million people dead, you're using federal employees to get cash awards for you. 1 million people dead, and you're here taking the fifth because you don't want to admit that what really happened in all that time was a multi-month, multi-year course of self-dealing. Isn't that true, Dr. Fauci?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, well, silence is admission. And here's the real thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just about the money, really, was it? It was really about a power trip. I mean, through all of this, you want to be the most famous scientist in the world. You were so focused on getting every award and every drop of cash that you could, all because you wanted to be on TV. You wanted to be the sun god of science. You wanted to be the guy who was in charge of it all. You wanted to lambast Trump. You wanted to make sure that nobody else stole your spotlight. You wanted to be the guy.
Dr. Fauci.
The American folks have been scammed, and I just want to say, like, people have been talking about this, and I'm not even saying this portion to like the people who you did what you had to do, right? And I respect that. Like, I'm not saying that you're the problem or anything like that, but like the people who was just like, you guys are crazy, or why aren't you doing this, and blah blah blah, like, at what point do you start to understand that, like, you cannot trust everything that comes out of these folks' mouth? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, there comes a point where you realize that, like, you want them to have your best interest at heart, but when you pay attention to the various variables around that we are living with and existing with in our everyday lives, you will see how all of these things are never to benefit you, and it's always to line their pockets. At what point do you start to say, like, we can't trust them? You get what I'm trying to say? At what point do you say, like, the stuff that be coming out of their mouth is just BS, and saying that you shouldn't listen to everything, right? But I'm saying majority of the things that come out of their mouth, you have to first be able to, like, observe your everyday life and just see how you have been deceived in so many ways. You have to first be able to see how the everyday life that you're living, and obviously, like, everyone can make up their own life, but I'm talking about, like, if you're taking the conventional route of life, you will start to see how, like, a lot of the things that we do in our day-to-day lives is not normal. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, we are not meant to be working 24/7. We should not be struggling to pay bills. We should not be struggling to get real food on our tables. We should not be struggling for clean air. We should not be having to battle with every other day something is wrong with our food, or how majority of the things that we're interacting with, whether it's our food, our clothes, the detergents, the water, the air that we breathe in, how everything causes cancer. And I'm just saying allegedly, right? But like, if you do your research, and I'm gonna talk about these things on this page, but like, so many of the things that we are coexisting with are harming us. So at what point do you start to ask yourself, or at what point do you allow yourself to just like accept the reality that, like, we are dealing with sinister folks and they don't have our best interest at heart? At what point do you stop defending them with every single thing, and you start listening to the people who are in your very same shoes, and understanding that, like, maybe we don't be crazy when we talk about things, right? Maybe we aren't off our rocks when we bring up a lot of the inconsistencies and a lot of the deceptive things that we're seeing, a lot of the manipulation that we're seeing. Maybe people are just trying to warn you for your interests, right? For your betterment. And maybe you should take the time out to consider it and not operate from a space of like programming, or like you're like this robot, this parrot that you just repeat everything that is told to you, and you just take it for face value without critically thinking, without doing your own research, without saying like, yes, they told me this, but when I really think about it and from what I'm seeing, this is not really adding up. At what point do you give yourself permission to say, this is not adding up and I have to think more? And y'all, I'm so passionate about this because for so long, and I'm 27, right? For so many years, like, I have been dived deep into the whole conspiracy world because it's always made sense to me, right? But it's just like to see how over the years, just growing up, people are quick to like just ostracize you or call you, oh, you're thinking too much, or oh, you know, like, you need to stay off the internet and blah blah blah. But it's just like, how many things have been coming out back to back to back to back to back about all the things that have been called conspiracy theories. But when you really think about it, conspiracy theories was labeled after people who brought up things where technically it wasn't supposed to come out, but it's just like, what's an easier way to debunk this than to label them crazies? You get what I'm trying to say? Which is why this page is called Conspiracy Crazy, because we're claiming that name. You get what I'm trying to say? We're claiming it. We're not crazy, but if that's what y'all want to call us, let's have our crazy talks here, right? Welcome to the crazy world, all right? Because we're not the crazy ones. Let me calm down before y'all really think I'm crazy. Hold on, I'm thirsty. But no, seriously, like, we're not crazy. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like the people who critically think, the people who ask questions, the people who point out the flaws are often the people who are seen as, oh, you're thinking too much, or, oh, you know, like, maybe you should stay off the internet, or, oh, maybe, you know, like, you're like misinterpreting this. And it's just like, maybe you're not thinking hard enough. Maybe you're not thinking at all, actually. Maybe you're not allowing yourself the opportunity to actually do research, to actually listen to what people are telling you. But listen, my beef is not with y'all. We are here collectively, okay? That's basically what I'm trying to say. Like, we need to stand together, and we need to understand that, like, we are not each other's enemies. It's actually the people who are above us, technically not above us. If you think about it spiritually, they're below us, right? And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. But it's just like, the people who are governing us, and they're doing a terrible job, actually. But then again, they're governing you if you think they're governing you. The way I live my everyday life, they don't exist in it unless I'm looking at news and stuff like that, and then I realize, like, oh, they're still there. But to be completely honest, in my everyday life, my everyday decisions, I am not thinking about them, if I'm being completely honest. And then with this damn Dr. Fauci, like, sir, are you not ashamed? Are you not embarrassed? Are you not even feeling like a sense of guilt? Like, the fact that you want to keep pleading the fifth, like, sir, you are dead in the wrong. And it's not just you, right? It's not just one person. It's a collective of them, actually. So I'm not here to just point the finger at one person. I understand the system itself is just corrupt, but it just goes to show, like, even when they are in the wrong, even when it comes out, they will never take accountability. Alright, I've said this in videos before on my other page, but it goes to show, like, we are literally in a narcissistic relationship with the government, with the people who are governing us. They will never take accountability. They will always gaslight you. They will always tell you you're wrong, or, oh no. They are going to try to screw with our heads as much as possible, as long as they are benefiting from it. And if you are keeping yourself in a docile state where you are not, like, spiritually strong enough to say, like, no, I see what I see, and I know what I see, and I trust myself enough to know that this is wrong, you are going to find yourself victim in these situations time and time and time again. And listen, other people who are aware of it, we are no different than you in a sense of, yes, we are all still living in this same little bubble, but, like, mindset wise, we not taking it. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, even when things are like, oh, you should follow this, or oh, you should do this, it's just like, actually, no, I'm not, because I'm just not doing it. And before they started this whole, like, blackmailing on, if you don't do this, then we're gonna take this away from you, I remember when they said something, I can't remember exactly what was said, but it was basically like, if you go take the shot, then they can't be sued, or, like, they're not held responsible for anything that happens, any side effects or anything. That's when I also knew, like, yeah, y'all not to be trusted, because I've never heard that said. Maybe that's something that, like, they say with everything, but I've never heard that, like, openly said about something that they're forcing you to take. You get what I'm trying to say? So to me, it just kind of gave, like, if something happens, then, you know, you can't come after us. But it's like, if you're mandating people to do it, then why wouldn't you be held responsible for it? You get what I'm trying to say? And then to think about all the deaths that have followed after that, like, people who have gotten sick from taking it and then passing away. So many young and healthy people passing earlier than expected. Not to say, like, we have, like, an expected date of death, but it's just like the age rates of people who were passing was increasing, especially healthy people. It's just like, how are they just dropping from cardiac arrest? You get what I'm trying to say? So it was just like a lot of things that I was seeing. I'm just like, yeah, something is wrong with this. And the fact that now, like, it's coming out that, like, this was just like a hoax in a sense, it's just like, wow, like, so you guys are just testing on people like guinea pigs. Even though I understand how vaccines work, but it's just like, for you to mandate something that you're still testing, but then to do it worldwide, is quite sinister. But before I get into my commentary, let's watch some TikToks of people discussing this whole debacle.
This whole like Fauci, however you say his name, American government situation is really disturbing me, and I want to fight someone. I really do, because what do you mean we didn't have to get the COVID vaccine? And I kind of feel two ways. One, I'm kind of like upset with myself because I really wish I would have trusted God and not taken the vaccine. I really do. And I remember Tiffany Montgomery saying, do not take that poison. But I didn't take it because I was fearful about COVID. I took it because I really needed a job. And at the time, the only job that was available to me was a job in healthcare. And you couldn't work in any healthcare system and not get the vaccine. You just couldn't. Like, it was a no. And I was like desperate at this point. I had just came from a stint of like sleeping in my car for a couple of months of like, I need a job. And that was the first job that was available to me. And I took the vaccine. But as soon as I took the vaccine, my period stopped. My ovaries shut down. I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, are you still getting your period? I'm like, yeah, well, it's like intermittent. And he's like, yeah, well, your body's functioning like a 70-year-old woman in menopause. And I was 32 at the time. And he's like, you know, the only way for you to have children is to freeze your eggs right now, try to do an IVF cycle, or donor eggs. I tried the IVF cycle from the hospital that I was working in, failed miserably, okay? I needed like 4 more rounds, and the hospital at the time only gave you like $20,000 for IVF, a lifetime cycle, because, you know, depending on the cycle, it is very expensive, and I did $20,000 my first cycle. And so then the doctor's like, well, the only way that you're going to have a kid is if you get donor eggs, which I don't believe in them. I believe that God is going to do his big one when it's time for me to have children. He can do the impossible, so I'm really not worried about that part. But I'm just like, all of the things that I've been through, like my periods are so intermittent. It is really crazy. And I just don't understand how you're going to tell us right now that we never needed to get the COVID vaccine. Like, I'm going to fight you. Can I sue you? Like, I know that's rhetorical, but for real, like, crazy.
So since we're all talking about the vaccine and Fauci, let's talk about during COVID how I was almost about to graduate college. I had 1 semester left and I was taking this math class, and the whole entire semester I was online, and I was purposely online because I did not want to get the vaccine. So I was told, if you take all online classes, you'll be fine. You don't have to get it. It comes time for my final. And my math teacher tells all of us that we have to take our final on campus. Now, I started emailing back and forth with my professor, telling them, hey, I don't understand this because this is an online class, and I was told that I wouldn't have to get the vaccine. And she tells me, well, that's too bad. You have to get the vaccine to be on campus, and we're taking the final on campus. So I had to drop that class, and I dropped out of college and never went back. Yeah, so that's my COVID story.
Y'all see they're saying that COVID is one of the largest genocides in history, and us getting that COVID vaccine was a risk to our health. It's causing cancer, heart problems. And I remember I got that vaccine as well. And I remember, I don't know if it was like maybe a year, 2 years later, I went to my doctor because I was having heart palpitations, and I could literally feel my heart in my chest, like beating out of my chest differently. So I went to my regular doctor, and my doctor asked me, did you get the vaccine? And I was like, yeah, I got it. And she was like, that might be one of your causes. So she referred me to a cardiologist, and my cardiologist said the same thing. Did you get vaxxed? And I was like, yes. And I had irregular heartbeats, and he wanted to put me on some heart medication, which I declined because I didn't want to be on any more medications. But they said that it probably came from the COVID vaccine. And that senator up there asked Fauci, he said, do you even want to apologize? And he said he wanted to exercise his Fifth Amendment. He couldn't even say, so he didn't want to say anything. But I think that is messed up that he fooled all these people, even killed people, because of that big COVID lie. That's messed up.
Hey, y'all don't be quiet now about that vaccine, about that COVID vaccine. It was a lot of people talking shit about people who didn't get the shot. Now that boy went up there on that stand and said what he said, plead the fifth 1,000 times. Don't be quiet now. Because there was a point in time, I'm talking about the jobs was about to fire you if you ain't get vaccinated. You couldn't travel if you ain't get vaccinated. But it was a lot of people saying some real grimy stuff about the unvaccinated people. Now, I ain't get vaccinated. I already knew it was up. Because you got to stand for something. Just because the government say that you need to do something, use your critical thinking. Use your own thought process to make a decision for your life. You gotta come up with that for yourself when it comes to your life, you feel me? Because COVID killed my dad, got my dad up out of here. The doctor had to video time me with my dad in the incubator, bro. In the incubator, bro. So, and he got vaccinated. He definitely got vaccinated too. So, for the people that were popping it and saying all that crazy stuff about the unvaccinated, hey, that's on you.
Like always, I got something to say. So I'm doing this video on about the COVID vaccine that they said Dr. Fauci just released that the COVID vaccine was a fraud. It's a scam. So you mean to tell me the whole time people was losing jobs, losing their lives, and had to mandatory get this vaccine, and all y'all was doing is playing guinea pigs on humans? I myself did never receive this vaccination. I never did. I never received it. 3 of my children didn't receive it because I talked to them and told them don't get it. Begged my mom not to get it, but she believes everything the media tells her, so she ran off and got it. I'm pretty pissed off because at this particular year, when COVID was going around, my son was getting released from prison. And upon his release, I never forget him calling me and saying, "Mom, they told me that the only way they're going to release me is if I take that vaccination shot." He said, "I've been trying and trying not to take it." He said, "I've been refusing it. But in order for me to be released, that's the only way that I can be released if I take that vaccination shot." So he did take it. I wasn't happy about his decision, but I guess, he did what he had to do. I'm pissed off about that. Very pissed off about that. Because I knew right then and there, to release him into society, you mean to tell me he had to take a vaccination shot? I knew something was wrong there. I knew something was wrong when they were asking people to take the vaccination shot when they was in the medical field and saying that if you don't take it, your job would be expired. I knew something was wrong. I will say this to each and every one that did take that shot, that I hold your hand by saying I deeply apologize that y'all went through that. Some of y'all didn't have a choice. You have to do what you have to do. But what pisses me off is that they made y'all do that. So where do we stand today? I believe y'all should be entitled to a compensation behind that. And no, I'm not talking about no $30 and $40. So if the government or anybody else see this video, y'all should be paying them top-notch dollars, because y'all put these people's life at risk for a shot that y'all put in, y'all made up as a lab experiment to just test on people. That was wrong. So that's my thoughts on this. I'm very pissed off about that. And again, for the ones that did take this shot, I really deeply feel so sorry for you. I really do. And like I said, they need to have some kind of compensation for the ones that had to take that shot, that didn't really want to take it.
So the Anthony Fauci hearing, I couldn't even listen to that. I can't do it. I can only listen to David Chappelle reenactment of it. The fifth. That's all I got.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Let me tell you, when they start insisting on everybody take that shot, me and my daughter, we wasn't doing none of that. They said, well, you can't go here. We don't want to go. We volunteered not to go. You can't fly here. We drive. You can't have this. We don't want it. You could not. Let me tell you, I told y'all I grew up with asthma, real chronic asthma, and my body will not take nothing extra when it comes to chemicals and when it comes to certain stuff. That's why y'all see me out here eating a certain way. And you going to inject me with something y'all just made up? An experiment? Now you over here saying I plead the fifth? Hey! And nobody could do nothing about it? That's criminal. People, family members died alone. You cannot tell me these many years later you now have found a way to escape the consequences. People's family members were not there for weddings, graduation, birthdays. He disrupted global societies with the rhetoric, and he was getting paid. Yeah, y'all better listen to the Holy Spirit. Y'all got to tune into God and be on top of stuff. Don't wait till stuff is over before you get it.
How many people got kicked out of the military, and how many people, such as myself, still had to pay child support, still had to put food on the table for their family, but the only stipulation was that we had to get the jab, so we had no other choice or no other option unless we want to lose our house, but we ended up getting the jab anyway so that we could support our family. And now we know that there's a chance or a likelihood that our bodies could be falling apart, because we've seen the evidence and proof that shows that some people's bodies are falling apart. How many people had to watch their loved one pass away in a hospital through a freaking window because of the social distancing? How many people have suffered because of the lies that Dr. Fauci has told? I could tell you it's millions of people have suffered because of the lies that he has told. But the thing is there's people who actually believe that accountability is coming, and I want to let you know that accountability is something you will never see. And the reason why is because while you sit there and you compare this case to that case and him pleading the fifth and then going and obviously he's been pardoned already, they already knew this was going to happen. This isn't something new. They already knew that he would have to testify, and this has all been planned. So he's never going to actually face accountability, except maybe when he meets Jesus, I guess. But bottom line is that it was all a sham, and people made millions of dollars, and the flu disappeared for a few years, and this is just where we're at now. And so all the trust the science people, the friends that we had that were nurses that we lost, and we tried to tell them that it was dangerous and this doesn't make sense. All the people we questioned and we're no longer friends with, there's just nothing but loss when it came down to this whole trust the science thing. It's pretty wild, to be honest.
So as y'all can see, people are literally fed up, and I just can't believe that this is happening. Like, I can believe it because I peeped and smelled the BS from early on, but like just to see like how everything is unfolding, it's just like, wow. Like, I mean, for one, like, you know, the conspiracy theorists, we got our vindication, right? Like we've been getting, but it's also to see like just people's reactions, to see like how this whole thing has affected people in such a negative way, and just to see like how people are devastated just to find out like this was all just BS. It's just like, I feel bad for people, honestly. Like I really do feel bad for people, because it's like so many people had to like uproot their lives, so many people had to like make sacrifices, so many people were shunned, so many people lost their jobs, so many people struggled during that time period. And a lot of people who have made certain sacrifices, and the sacrifice was to not take it or it was to take it, a lot of people are still dealing with the aftermaths of just that whole time period. A lot of people haven't recovered from it, and I just feel like that was like a way of like just mentally, spiritually, physically, financially throwing people off in such a way where it's just like a lot of people have not recovered from it, and it has really changed the world in a way that it's just not in a good way. Like, things have went digital since then. Literally has changed the world in such a big way. Everything is digital now, and life for a lot of people just doesn't feel the same anymore. Like, you just feel like you are living in the Matrix, literally. Like, we already lived in a Matrix, but like it feels like it even more with like just how much the digitals and technology has taken over. And in my opinion, that was definitely a part of their agenda to transition us into that world. There really comes a point where people who are labeled as conspiracy theorists, or people who are always against the program because they see through the BS, there comes a point where, like, for people who resonate with that, you have to be so confident in validating yourself when people are rejecting you, when people are not understanding where you're coming from, when people are just following the crowd. And don't get me wrong, I get it, right? Because it's like you want to trust that the people who are governing you, the people who are of authority, you want to trust that they are operating from integrity and that they actually have your best interests at heart. But there really has to come to a point where y'all have to open your eyes and see, like, you can't trust them. There has to come a point where you get to a space where you're just like, you know what, maybe they're not bugging, maybe people are not bugging. Maybe they're right that you cannot trust the people. All right. There really has to come a point. There really has to come a point where people collectively start to open their eyes and say, like, we cannot trust the people who are governing us. And I'm not here to start nothing, even though, listen, I'm always here for it, right? But it's just like, it's literally insanity to keep going through the same thing in different situations, feeling like you can trust people because of just what they say and what they present to you, when after a while you start to realize, like, wait, so that's not true, wait, so this is not true, wait, but you guys said this, but now you're taking that back. But then the whole time, if you overlap things, right, the people who are labeled as conspiracy theorists, they have been pointing out inconsistencies and have been pointing out things where it's just like, this does not make sense, or it's like, well, why would you be doing this? But every time they speak up, things are labeled as misinformation by the deceivers, by the way. But also, it's just like, they are labeled as like, oh, you're crazy, or oh, you're a danger to society, when it's just like, maybe they're just ahead of what you don't see yet. And I think there gets to a point where you start to like allow yourself to not be so like closed off to the idea of what you might be hearing, because you so badly want to believe the guidance that you are given by people who you would think are operating from integrity, just to realize that they are the ones who do not have our best interests at heart, and they are never going to be completely honest with you. The media outlets are not something that you can trust because they're all ran by them. Even me trying to bring this conversation to this platform, who knows if it's even going to be shared out for people to see. But there just comes to a point where you have to accept reality for what it is. And even though it may not be easy for you to like digest, because just like, damn, like, is this really the world that we're living in? Yes, this is the world that we're living in. And yes, it is run by people who do not have your best interests at heart and who are going to lie to you in order to get some sense of power, to gain finances. Mind you, finances that aren't even real, by the way, right? Because we can all agree that money is not real. It's not like actual currency. It's something they're just printing. But you know, like, that's a whole nother story for another day. And I'm not saying that it wasn't real, right? But just the way that they went about the whole thing, I'm a person who I did not get, you know, poked, okay? I'll be completely honest on here. I was never ashamed to admit that. I didn't get it because I'm just like, why do I have to get this? Not just that, but like just the way it was being presented to us, the fear mongering and everything. I was just like, I don't trust this. You get what I'm trying to say? And then the extreme lengths that they were going for people to abide by the rules and be compliant, it made me feel even more like this does not feel right, because it's like, I've never seen something be pushed this much ever in my life. And mind you, I'm 27, right? But at the time I was what, like 21, 22. I've never seen something pushed that much in the way that it was. And it was just very off-putting to me. And I just remember during that time period, right, I was self-employed, thank God, so I fortunately didn't have to like deal with the pressure of, oh, if you don't get the shot, then you are going to lose your job. And I just thought that was very unfair, because it's like, you aren't really giving people a chance, and it's like, you are basically threatening people's livelihood, especially during a time where the economy wasn't like bad how it is now, but like, you know, that's when like people were starting to feel it. So it's just like, the fact that like you are basically like threatening a person's like source of income, which will affect their livelihood, it was just like, okay, this is wrong. You get what I'm trying to say? As an automatic, I'm going to threaten this because I know you're going to comply. And I just felt like it was very backhanded. It was very just like sinister. And I don't know about y'all, but like so many people, including myself, that's when I went through my awakening. Like, when I tell you my eyes was so wide open during that time period, like I literally started to see the world for what it was. And I was just like, damn, like, what's going on? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, this is very like, it was to the point where like it was getting depressing, because it was just like, I couldn't see anything without seeing the reality of it, despite like how other people were just like so blinded to it. I'm just like, how do you guys not see the deception? How do you guys not see just all of the chaos that was happening? It was truly when I officially realized like, okay, we are living in a dystopian society. And like I said, it wasn't just myself, like so many people had their awakening during that time, especially since like that's when the whole transition from like the real world to the digital world happened. So mostly everything was being conducted online. You could see things. This was before all of like the heavy any censorship. So like you would have people come out and talk about things. So I came across a lot of videos of people talking about things, debunking things. I seen videos of like different agendas and things that were going to happen, and it's crazy because some of the things that I seen during that time period, some of those videos, I literally cannot find them anywhere on this internet, and I know for sure what I saw and I can't find it anywhere. And the very things that I can't find on the internet now are things that are actively either have been played out or are currently playing out or are in transition of just happening. For example, like the money switching over to digital, and I literally have a 30-minute video in my iPad saved because I'm just like, listen, I know I'm gonna need this video, and honestly I want to post it on this channel. I just don't know if it's gonna like affect my channel anyway, because like I said, that video has been scrubbed from the internet. But when I saw it in like 2021, 2022, something told me just screen record this 30 whole minutes, screen record it, because I said this is going to be something that I know I'm gonna reflect back on as information to basically tell us what is going to happen and how it's going to happen. So I'm going to highly consider posting it on here, or I'll figure out a way how to post it somewhere, and then you know, you guys just get the link to watch it. But alright, but back to the mandatory things that people had to get, or they were being threatened to lose their jobs and just being isolated from society. Like that has affected so many people in such a negative way. Granted, some people were fortunate enough to not take it, and some people stood on what they believed and said, I'm not taking this shot, I do not feel comfortable with it, I don't trust it. Some people had the privilege, and unfortunately some people were very solid in their stance of they will not be coerced into taking it. But unfortunately they did lose their jobs, they lost family, they lost friends, they were ostracized in society, and people were just like very mean during that time. Like I can say that I didn't fully like experience the whole like being isolated from society because I worked from home, and like I said, I was an entrepreneur, I was in the beauty industry. Clients literally had the free will to book with me or not. Like there wasn't a sense of, oh, I had any requirements or anything like that. I wasn't the person to be going out. And I know a lot of people were getting the shots just so that they can get the card, so that they can go out and things like that, which to me didn't make sense. And something else that made a lot of people feel uncertain was the fact that there were a lot of medical professionals who were actively dealing with this on the daily basis, or even the scientists that were in the field studying, basically saying like, hey, you guys shouldn't get this. I just felt like, okay, if the people who like I would feel more comfortable listening to because they're actively dealing with it, if they're warning people against it, why aren't we listening to them? And my issue is when they would come out to speak about it and they were speaking like genuine concerns of like, I don't think you guys should do this, I just did not like how like the media outlets were labeling everything as misinformation, taking their videos down, or even deactivating their, you know, like accounts and things like that. And some people were even going like missing, you know. And I just feel like if you have to go through that extent to keep people silent, when it's just like, why is it that only like one narrative is being pushed? That also made me feel very uncomfortable, because I'm just like, okay, like I don't trust this even more. And then on top of that, just to see like how during that time, oh my gosh, when I tell you, the biggest thing that got me where I was just feeling insulted, I'm not gonna lie, was when they were realizing that like every attempt that they were making to like threaten people's jobs and say like, if you don't get it, then you're going to lose your job, or you're gonna lose this, or you can't be here, and things like that. I feel like those were like the easier ways to target people, because again, you're targeting a person's livelihood. Or even you like wanting to isolate people. Like a lot of people, believe it or not, cannot like sit with themselves, let alone be stuck in their house, let alone stuck in their house away from society. It's like being in like one of those rooms where you're just in there by yourself and there's no one there to really like occupy you. And sometimes some people go mad from that. And then imagine if you're like housing with like toxic people, like you're going to go mad from that, right? So that was an easy way to like target people, to cut them off from, you know, the outer world, from them going to go escape outside. And then on top of that, you're cutting off their access to escapism, so they can't go out and enjoy themselves, they can't go out to the club, they can't go out and do this and that, the restaurants, especially when people had that pandemic money, right? If you don't have the ability to move how you want to move, especially in such a depressing time where a lot of people did pick up toxic habits because it was just very stressful, so people needed ways to cope, right? If you're trying to cut off people's way of getting those things, they're going to find ways to get to those things because it's just like, listen, I need it. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's just like, yes, people were finding ways to go. So yes, people were complying just so that they can have access to those outside things, right? But my thing is, where I found it most insulting was when I started to realize, like, okay, they're getting desperate. You want to know why? Because it's like, why are you now offering McDonald's? I think I saw like $1 burgers when they started like going like the fast food route, but you could tell like they were targeting a certain demographic of people. That's when I started to feel like really insulted, because I'm like, damn, like, do y'all think like we're that dumb? Like, you can just lure $1 over our head and say like, hey, if you get the shot, then you're gonna get this. Like, are we worth a burger, some chicken nuggets, some french fries? Like, it was quite insulting, honestly. It's disturbing to really ponder on the idea of like, damn, like, what if there are people who are that easily lured into complying by saying like, if you go get it, then I'm going to give you $1 Shake Shack fries. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, that was when I really started to look at things a lot differently. I'm like, okay, it kind of seems like they are testing how far can we go with society. Like, I literally felt like they were treating us as like guinea pigs. They were seeing like how much could they do without getting pushback from it, and even though people are pushing back, they are observing to see like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, we're still going to keep enforcing the things that we are telling you to do, and you're either gonna get with the program or not. And it's just to know that like, it's so many of us, but yet like, we were helpless. Like, I think that was like what was the most depressing thing, because it's like you realize how much like people were, it's like Stockholm syndrome. Like, you know that this is not right, but it's just like you also are not willing to leave. Like, you're just gonna go along with it. And to be completely honest, that's when I started to realize like the direction society was going in. I'm like, okay, it feels like society is like intentionally being dumbed down. Fast forward 4 to 5 years, we are now having a lot more talks about how society has dumbed down over the years. Like, even the way like things are going now within like politics, the economy, and things like that. Yes, people are talking about these things, but there's also a level of just like, you see how docile society is, and you see how like there's so much talking, but yet there's not really much action happening, and they're just continuing to push further their agendas more and more, while we're just kind of sitting here complaining, but there is also not really much happening. And I would say like, I'm a part of the problem as well, because, you know, I'm not doing anything. But I decided, listen, I want to talk about this, because if it's a matter of like, people are like just ignorant to it, even though I feel like at this point like you cannot claim ignorance to these things. Like, it's just out there. It's either you want to believe it or not. You get what I'm trying to say? And I feel like I said, there comes a point where you start to realize that all the things that they call conspiracy theories, which is why I have this page and it's called Conspiracy Crazies, right? Because they like to call us crazy, but it's like, no, we're just early. We see through the BS, and I'm hoping with this page I can help you see through the BS as well. So y'all, listen, I just think it's really unfair. I knew all of this was BS when someone that I know personally held off as long as they could with me so that they didn't have to get the shot. And literally, y'all remember that time period where they were like tripling down on, if you do not get it, this is the final warning, you're going to lose your jobs. This person went to go get their first shot. This person ended up caving in and basically said like, listen, they are saying this is the final chance, I have to go get the shot. Like, as much as I don't want it, let me just go get it. Like, it's like you just gave up hope and you just said, you know what, I don't have any other choice. They went to go get their first shot, and obviously you had to schedule like the next 2, I believe. I didn't know how that whole thing worked. Hear this, before they could even go get the second and third shot, that's when, what, like 7 to 10 days later, I seen on the news, oh, you guys don't have to wear a mask anymore. Oh, it's not that hazardous anymore. Everything is fine. Everything just went back to normal. I said, gotcha, because now y'all are just showing how like it's so many inconsistencies with how they were handling this, to where I said like, yeah, this gave BS the whole time. And I am not saying that people did not pass away from this. I'm not saying that people were not harmed, but I'm saying the way that they went about all of this was very deceptive. And to be quite honest, any doubt that I had, which I didn't really have, but any doubt that I had, all of the little remaining dust doubt that I had went out of the window real, because I'm like, y'all are just like not even making sense at this point. That's when I just said, like, society, if they do not see the games that is being played, then honestly we are in big trouble. But y'all, I'm gonna end this video here. I want to know you guys' thoughts, and if y'all have any resources, listen, this is the page to be dropping the tea, so please drop the tea, okay? Please drop any information that you have just when it comes to like this topic, and I would love to review it, because I'm not a person who rejects information, especially if it's valuable information, and of course, like, I want it to be real information, right? But yeah, let me know you guys' thoughts down below. I will definitely be reading them, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye.
Excuse me, Kamala just said what? Well, there you have it. All of our suspicions have been proven to be true. And this is not a new thing, don't get it twisted. This has been going on since the beginning of the elite, but it is all part of, well, the Great Reset. Whether it was HIV or the jabby jab. Those who have known, well, we've known all along, and those who didn't know, it looks like they're starting to find out. What are you talking about, Auntie? Well, I could explain it to you, but let me just let the Vice President do it herself. Check it out.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean.
Oops. Someone better take that mic away from her, and fast. Seems like old Kamala slipped up there, didn't she? Exposing a very, very, very large part of their plan. Didn't hear it the first time? Well, allow me to play it for you. Let me play it again, and a little louder for the people in the back. That's just a saying. There's no change in the volume, unless you change your own phone up. But here, check it out.
And reduce population, and reduce population, and reduce population.
And this is that point when all of us conspiracy theorists, who have been saying this for I don't know how long, we politely look at all of those people who were naysayers and called us all crazy and say, you know what? I think I told you so. The elites have been trying to reduce population forever, finding so many ways and tactics, and many of those have unfortunately worked. Thank you, Mrs. Vice President, for confirming all of our suspicions and for proving all of us conspiracy theorists completely 100% right. They have been trying to reduce population now for quite some time. And if you ask me, that is absolutely, hands down, disgusting and sick. We are not numbers. We are people. We are mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, daughters and sons, and grandparents. We are not just people taking up too much space or eating too much food. We are human beings, and we are God's children, and we are not on this planet to be reduced just because it's all part of your ultimate plan. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go grab my conspiracy theory journal.